the limited sizes, limited buildings, limited, and that's the reason we put that in there. C3.
That gets to the notion of variance.
Right, exactly.
All right, I think you're looking for like page 2 of the staff report, Bill.
Let me see if I find it.
Second paragraph.
Yeah, it's.
So I think the issue is that, I mean,
Yeah, it's right here, what they have here, what in the zoning compliance, I'm looking, it says the self-storage use existing at 205 Plastow Road. It's a pre-existing non-conforming use. Look at that.
I think the issue is that it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, but you're asking to expand. I mean, so no one's saying that it's
In C3.
in the C3. So I mean, it's factually it's non-conforming, but we're looking to expand. So as such, I think the argument is that they would need some sort of special exception or variance,
Well,
which means that you would have
You look
to
at
go
here,
to
it says,
ZBA.
I'm also looking, it's permitted to continue grandfathered unless and until it's discontinued for more than 1 year.
Yeah, that's just reading half of the
Right.
ordinance.
Yeah, I'm just going by what I have in front of me.
Yeah, well,
It's only half.
I went and looked.
Right.
And that's
I have to.
That's not generally how non-conforming uses work. There's one part and there's always a second part that deals with extension or expansion.
Yeah, like that, then the next paragraph should be noted that there are no prohibitions in either the Plastow zoning ordinance or New Hampshire RSA's to prohibit the expansion of a non-conforming use.
And that's also inaccurate. 674-19 applies to non-conforming uses.
What does that RSA?
RSA 674-19. Basically, that establishes that any zoning ordinance adopted under RSA 674-16 shall not apply to existing structures or to the existing use of any building. That permits non-conforming use. That's the essence of the New Hampshire statute on non-conforming uses. Second sentence, however is mine. It shall apply to any alteration of a building for use for a purpose or in a manner which is substantially different from the use to which it was put before alteration.
Yeah.
You're doubling the size of this building.
Yeah, being C3.
I will tell you furthermore, that in the annals of New Hampshire legal decisions, the Supreme Court has yet to allow for a physical expansion of a non-conforming use in any material way.
All right, I'm going by the staff report, so with that, I'll accept the application, but that's how I'll vote on it. Everyone else vote the way you feel, see fit.
So in terms of, saying that it's incomplete or complete, if, however we vote, we're basically saying that if it's incomplete for the reasons that we've stated and what we in the notice of decision is that it appears it is non-conforming, we're expanding something and it looks like they need some relief from the ZBA. So,
Remember, in the notice of decision, we have to provide the applicant with advice to make it complete, the application.
all right. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, if not, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of the application being found complete?
Aye.
All right. I'm just trying to, how should I phrase it? All in favor, we have one aye. All in favor of being incomplete? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. So the motion is no abstentions, so the motion's going to be 1-0-4.
140.
140, right. I'm going to have to have a cheat sheet for that. All right. All right, so with that, the motion is, the application is ruled incomplete. All right, and so we won't be opening a public hearing on the subject. All right. is the applicant here? Yeah. Right, so, just to reiterate what just happened is that we, the application, we voted not to accept jurisdiction of it. There'll be a notice of decision detailing what our position is and what the remedy is to move forward. But it's just we're taking the position that there's probably some ZBA relief that should have been done prior to the application being submitted.
I have a letter from the planning director that said we could do this.
Well, we don't have a planning director, but
Sorry, the zoning, DeVos, the zoning official.
yeah, but again, the board, we voted to not accept jurisdiction because, in this board's opinion, there should have been a variance of some kind prior to being submitted. So really, I really can't comment any more beyond what the motion was and what we just voted on. Thank you.
Thank you. The application, I'm not gonna-
All right. With that said, next on the agenda, we have a conceptual consultation for major site plan development on 22 Old Road, Plastow, tax map 29, lot 40.
Same things.
Just for the record, just, your name and such.
Yeah, Michael Malinowski with Allen and Major Associates. We are here as for conceptual discussion for the property over at 20 Old Road. I'm not sure if we can bring up the materials that we had submitted. So it's a
Is there anything loaded on the,
It's on the screen there, so I think you can use that computer right in front of you to navigate to it at the top.
yeah. Right now. So it's a very large piece of property. It sits off of Old Road. There was back in the early 2000s, is now the connector road had been put in. That lot, for historic purposes, was home to Proquip. They had moved now over to where the old Samoa Candies is. So it's been a contractor's yard, equipment storage area. That plan that you see right before you was the plan that's on file for the town when it was Proquip. The previous plan here was prior to the road going in when it was Center Brothers construction yard. The reason we're here before you is we have a potential applicant that's looking to come in to operate a excavation landscape company. The question is whether he can store loam and mulch to screen that he does from his operations and sell it as he needs to. The question is the old Center Brothers plan in the blue showed a material storage area. The buildings are still there. I've highlighted sort of the green sort of pieces that are sort of common. We still have the existing house that's out on Old Road.
Mm-hmm.
The green in the corner was the septic for the office building. The office building stays. And you can see based on the Center Brothers plan, highlighted the sort of same stuff. The area in the blue was what was historically where the material storage was. What we're trying to figure out is whether we need to do a formal site plan to sort of capture material storage that was shown on the previously approved recorded site plan but for whatever reason was omitted during when it went to ProQuip. It's still going to be in the same general area. It's still within a gravel parking area that's there. They would just like to be able to store loom, screen loom, and potentially bark mulch. It doesn't have any provisions to start selling perennials or shrubs or anything like that. It's more of material that's sort of comes from his excavation operations, screen it, and then be able to sell small quantities.
And where that's located, there's no residential homes, there's nothing really in that area.
No, it's all, it's all the backside of all those commercial properties
Yeah.
that sit on 125. There's a nice new road that goes through there. Part of what they're gonna do is clean up some of that sort of frontage so that it sort of dresses it up for their purposes, because it's in their best interest. They're an excavation company. They have a sort of junky looking site. It doesn't bode well for them either.
So when you say cleaning it up, I mean, I know like on the
It's
backside,
been-
there's a lot of like piles of rubble and, debris and stuff like that.
Correct. And I think a lot of that was left from when ProQuip was there and even prior to when Center Brothers was there.
Okay.
Center Brothers went out of operation and the current owners purchased that property under auction. So I think a lot of that stuff was just sort of left behind.
They said the current owners purchased the site on auction?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And they're looking to lease it to, so they had leased it originally to ProQuip. ProQuip moved. They're looking to lease it to another excavation company.
So in terms of, when you say excavation company, are they looking to, I mean, what type of excavating equipment? Because previously what was on there was a contractor's yard. So you had large excavators, everything from, I think, steamrollers to,
Yeah, I don't think he's
other
going to have
equipment.
steamrollers. He's probably got a few dump trucks, probably some low boys, excavators. I don't think he's going to have nearly the amount of equipment that ProQuip had there during their operations. So, some employee parking for his.
and when you're talking about bark mulch, I mean, I've seen some places like when they, that might be supporting, let's say, some landscaping. You'll have, let's say, some bays or whatever that might be like, concrete bays or something. I mean, when we're saying, are we talking about like, 50-foot piles of various mulches and stuff like
I
that?
don't think it's going to be like that. I think if anything, it's going to be like that. He'll, if he's allowed to do that, put sort of those big concrete blocks and sort of set up an area that he may have a pile that he's sort of screening and then sort of get it into contained areas, because it does help him to sort of keep it contained. Because whatever he does, we're going to need to make sure that he's got protections around it to make sure that it doesn't sort of travel off the property.
So this kind of blue purplish area,
Yeah.
that's where he's planning.
That's where he'd like to put it. That's where it was previously shown on the Center Brothers plan, the original sort of site plan. The one that was recorded the 19/5/30. Sort of what I've done is sort of overlaid and sort of colored sort of parts so you can sort of you can sort of see where the commonality is. So when it was Center Brothers, you can see that there was a swale that sort of ran through there. The nice part now is that's the town road that runs through there. So
Right.
there's no worry of drainage going off in that direction. There is some wetlands that are on plan left of this. If you look at I bring up the Center Brothers plan. So here.
Oh, I mean, this is kind of in that tweener spot that sits, there is some MDR, there is some houses. And on Old Road across the street, that's virtually, it's commercially zoned, but there's a few residential, houses there too.
It is industrial, okay?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
why I never understood why they moved over to commercial, but that's okay.
Well, it sits, I mean, that little nook of industrial sits, borders DC, borders NDR, borders C1,
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the uses, the thing with this is the uses, they're all approved. So contractor's yard, there's retail equipment storage. The one piece that sort of isn't demarcated on the original plan was the material storage. It's still sort of ancillary to a contractor's yard.
Yep.
In speaking with DeVos, she had suggested that we come and have a discussion with the planning board to sort of figure out what you guys are going to look for, whether it's, we can do this administratively to basically take, sort of mesh the two approved site plans together for that one piece, or whether it's going to require a full site plan.
Yeah, I mean, my questions are not over whether the uses are permitted. I don't have.
I mean, you'd be hard pressed to see where they're doing there down,
I just,
basically a town road down.
yeah, I just look at like, and generally too, I'm not opposed to like amending the site plan as you generally ask. My questions start to get when I see residences around places and I'm looking at the storage materials, I start to ask questions. Okay, what and are those materials going to be limited or inspected or that kind of thing. Now we're talking just mulch and soil.
That's all it
It's
is.
a different.
Yeah.
It's a different issue.
Now, in terms of like mulch and soil and such that you're talking about, is it open storage or is it just sort of like sheltered storage that you're contemplating, or is it?
So
Like
initially it was open storage. So when it was Center Brothers, I mean, they would have had stockpiles of material. They would have had gravel probably and stone, probably in different piles. That's presumably what they're not going to have that sort of quantity. But if they pull soil off or they have bark mulch or something that they wanted to screen, they would screen it and hopefully be able to sell it.
What about compost?
I don't think they're in the market of dealing with compost. It's whatever they're dealing with, it's stuff that they're going to deal with as part of their normal operations. Compost is a whole separate sort of animal. And typically you get into that if you were, say, a landscape contractor, or you were planning to sort of open a landscaping business where you'd be selling wholesale plants and materials and stuff to the general public. That's not what this is.
Dan, when you're talking about compost, I mean, there's compost and then there's compost, I guess.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know, so
if you're, I mean, if you're composting kind of plant material, that's not as
Strong,
challenging and offensive as odors.
it's strong.
If you're mixing in food and, even some elements of manure or that, you're into a different game, more complex. And the infrastructure is more complex.
Yeah.
That's a very unique and specialized sort of operation, and that's not what they're looking to do.
I think I would probably just say, out loud, like if, something like that were to be contemplated, I mean, we need to consider the fact that there is, abutters that aren't like miles away that, again, on Old Road that goes right in the back. So, smells and bells are become an issue. So,
I mean, my opinion in terms of the plan allowing them to combine A and B is, I don't see a problem with that. I think when they come in, getting more granularity on, okay, what's going to be stored there, that's giving you a hint of what, what we're going to be.
Yeah, but the bigger piece is the fact that if we have to amend the site plan, now we've got to do a full survey, and that's what they were trying to, that's a big piece of property for basically taking a material storage that shows up on one and putting material storage on another.
Well, to that point then, is on this unamended site plan, is that where we would contemplate the material storage that you're talking about?
If we can do it right here, the big part is if we have to come and do a full amendment, now I've got to go through the planning board. It's an official application. We've got to have a site plan that we can record at the registry of deeds. That means that this tenant has to pay to survey 22 acres of property in order to get an amendment. Now, if we can do it as an amendment and signed by the planning board without having to go through a full, complete survey and recording, then we could do basically what I've done here, color code, hey, we want to take this piece from this previous plan, add it here, and if the planning board's got recommendations of, all right, he can't sell shrubbery, he's not going to open a sort of a garden shop, so to speak.
Yeah, so you can't open nursery, right?
Yeah.
Just a question, Shia, what would be the mechanic? I mean, we're discussing the idea of taking a site plan, amending it in some way. So, I mean, is there something that we need to know that's, from that, what are the mechanics of that, I guess?
So the process that we had talked about that's explained on page 2 of the staff report would basically be, if the board decides to move in this direction, would be to go through the site plan application process. So noticing abutters, all of that, still coming before the board for a decision, but instead of recording an amended site plan, just having a note added and having a file placed here in the town hall, and then recording a notice of decision that would go to the registry of deeds, so that decision would still be on file, but they wouldn't have to go through that full survey process, since there isn't really any benefit in doing that.
And so if we were to move forward with that type of process, we would still be able to add, let's say, notes and such, saying that, no composting or something like that, or anything,
Yeah, because that would be in.
that would be within the scope of amending the site plan, what's being proposed.
Yeah, so you'd probably look at add no composting, no nursery, something like that, right?
Again, some of that, I'm more concerned with, is that's fine. And as long as we have a public hearing, I mean, again, the feedback I would say is, something like this amendment process, I would be in favor.
I'd agree.
So if we're not doing anything exotic and we're just sort of, we don't want to see an empty space, nothing happening on it, right?
Correct, yeah.
So it's your property, and you can, you should be able to enjoy and do what you want with your property.
Just updating it to show what was there.
Yeah, and basically, and what the staff has recommended is that you'd still have a recording of the decision, so any notes and that kind of stuff or stipulations that the board puts on it would still be recorded, but you wouldn't necessarily have a new plan other than a figure.
Just a question. I think, if there were variances that were attached to this property, the variances stay with the property,
They
correct?
run with the property.
Right. So in this sense, I believe this particular property, though it's industrial, has a limited, like, retail variance or something associated with it?
Yeah, so there was a retail component that was obtained through variance, and that was basically for when it was pro-equip, so that they could actually sell and rent equipment. That sort of limited, that retail component still would go and sort of cover the sale of bark mulch. It's not nearly to the extent that ProQuip had for their retail operations.
Yeah.
it still covers.
Yeah, but that runs with the
Yeah.
And then all the other uses, the contractor yard and all of that stuff is still allowed by right. And all of that sort of stays.
I think those are people
So
that
it's
live there.
still, the company would still be classified as a contractor's yard, which is.
And you know, hours of operation, would you, any thoughts on that?
I mean, typically normal excavation contractors, I mean, they're on site at 7 to 3:30. I don't suspect that they're going to be selling that early in the morning. If he's even selling it, maybe he's
What
got
will
a
the
little
traffic be too, on that small road?
What was that?
The traffic on that road,
Yeah.
in and out?
I would almost think it'd be kind of minimal, because I think they would come in off of 125, not at Old Road. They'd come in where the set of lights are, because that would be the easiest way for them to get in.
Absolutely.
Because that turn coming from 125 onto Old Road is tight.
Mhm.
So I think everything you'd have with the residential, I don't think Old Road would see any of that traffic. And leaving, that would be the way to go, because you have the set of lights. You could go right, you could go left.
And none of these large vehicles aren't going on Old Road. No way.
Yeah,
I
they'd be
think
going
the
down there.
majority of the traffic, and the reason why they put that road in is to sort of get people out to 125 directly.
And you don't even have Planet Fitness back there anymore.
Nope.
Yeah, it's completely empty now.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? No, so I think just, you know, again, if you're looking just for a consensus, you know, I mean, is that what we're looking for tonight, is just sort of a consensus that if we wanted to move forward on sort of this amended scenario to spare you from having to resurvey the whole area? I think unless anyone's against that, I think, you know, just as a consensus of the board, that it's good.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
Thank
we'll
you.
Put that application together, and I will see you probably next month.
Right. Outstanding.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night.
Prior meeting that I missed
Yes.
for the storage.
Well, I could, without speaking to the application wasn't accepted as complete, which means that we didn't accept jurisdiction, because we felt that it lacked, you know, some variance or relief. That's probably, you know, if the applicant chooses to seek that relief, then they'll have to go to the ZBA. So that's where it stands. There's no application before us. All right. You're welcome. All right. I think that was the bulk of it tonight, but there's a number of housekeeping things that we need to take care of. If you remember from the last meeting and in the minutes, we talked about the fact that the CIP committee needed to be reformed. You know, that's the capital improvement committee. We made a motion to accept the budget committee and board of selectmen's representatives as designated to be part of a subcommittee, CIP being a subcommittee of the planning board. All right, and we left the appointment of the planning board members and the designation of the chair of the CIP committee to this meeting. So I know originally before we realized that CIP probably wasn't properly constituted, we had appointed some individuals before, but, you know, given the fact that we're treating it as a subcommittee under the auspices of the planning board, we need to appoint 2 members from the planning board to CIP and an alternate, and then, you know, designation of who the chair is going to be for the CIP committee. I think,
I guess my only question would be, and I don't know the answer, but from the budget committee, I know there's 2 budget committee members here. Are you on the CIP for the budget side?
Mr.
Okay, so
Pella,
that's it. So then you can be. That's all. That's why
Right.
I'm asking.
Well,
Right.
originally I said I was going to be on the committee, so when budget came around, I didn't put my name in.
Okay.
I said twice.
Right.
Just want to make
so
sure.
no,
'cause
so
then
the
it takes
two of
either
us,
way.
I'm not designated CIP from budget
Good, so you
side.
guys are good to go.
So is there a burning desire to be on the CIP committee?
Well, I wasn't, I think Richard was on it, I was the alternate, and I think.
I did it 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's my point. It's just that what was done before wasn't, it wasn't
I mean,
wasn't normal is what I'm saying. So now that we've normalized what the CIP is, we have to appoint two individuals from planning board and an alternate. Right. So I think originally you were appointed, Rich. You still want to be on the CIP
Sure.
committee? Okay. So unless, if we could
Unless
do,
something I'm not seeing here, she's chuckling over there a little much.
all right. Dan, would you like to be on the CIP committee?
Like an operative word.
Well, I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel the burning need
I'm
to serve?
I'll be the
The
alternate.
nature of my background.
Right.
I'll be the alternate.
Would you like to be the
Yeah,
alternate?
I'll be the alternate.
Okay. All right. So
I've been on it before.
Mr. Leclerc, CIP committee, Dan Kane, CIP committee, and Karen Robinson, alternate on CIP committee. For purposes of designating the chair, I would designate, to designate Dan Kane as the chair of the CIP committee, unless there's anyone else that wants to wear that crown.
And congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Right, so,
Your wife will never see you.
That's
I
too-
read the document and got like a pain in my temple.
Did you see
Yes.
it? I've got the whole thing.
so it's,
I'll
we
give you the information.
we'll push that information out to Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee, because I think the CIP Committee should
There's always
probably think
10.
about at least provisionally meeting at some point, and then whatever the arrangements are, that various input from various town departments, relevant to what's governed by the CIP, that should be.
My understanding, that was already going on. The departmental input.
We usually have
I-
3 meetings. That's what
I have
we
no
do.
idea where that input was going then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, well, I just.
It's going to a CIP mailbox.
Has anyone reached out to Tim yet to see, because he's got it on
He has a
file.
spreadsheet.
We
yeah.
always had 3 meetings. That's all we had.
Well,
Yeah, roughly around, right around there, Karen,
We
you're right.
started in August, actually.
The
And
first
then-
thing I do is I'll hook up.
Yeah, because if he's got the format, it's just a matter of numbers moving
Yep.
around.
I'll do that tomorrow.
All right.
I've got some records too. if you want.
All right. In terms of other, just sort of an update on things with respect to contract of RPC for a circuit rider. I did speak to a town manager, Mr. Colby, the other day, and I believe, there has been some back and forth with respect to the contract. And he's awaiting Director Roche to return some information, whether or not there's some tweaks to the contractual language and such.
There was some discussion on the contractual language, and it was sent back to Tim to look at, waiting for him to come back. So they are talking.
Right. So if he hasn't, from my understanding is if he hasn't heard from him, well, at the time of our talking was in a couple of days, he'd reach out to him. So I guess the important thing is that we should have something relatively sooner.
I talked to Greg today on it,
Excellent.
and he said that there was some things in the contractual language that we want to change, so it went back to him. So they are obviously
All right. No,
moving.
I think that's what we want to have. That's good. I have a meeting with Mr. Colby at some point. We just haven't confirmed the date. Mr. Kane will be sitting in with us with respect to, there are certain budget questions that we want to, sort of tease out with respect to the planning board budget, going forward for 2026. So we have a commitment for a date to sit down and discuss that information. should have all got an email today that was forwarded, because as of probably yesterday, our current counsel for the planning board has indicated that they're, due to conflict of interest, they'll no longer be continuing as the counsel for the planning board. All right. I think in our rules and procedures, we indicated that, the planning board, should have its own legal counsel, and the legal counsel, the language that was in it, was deconflicting language that you shouldn't, such counsel shouldn't be, let's say, representing two land use boards that, if or some other entity that if the planning board were involved in some sort of legal discussion of some kind, we would expect there not to be a conflict of interest. So, whether or not there is an existing conflict, at least formally, at least from our, my perspective, I think that formally there's sort of a possibility for a conflict, and rather than wait, for there to be a material conflict and have one or more of the entities involved to have to get new counsel, it makes sense that this board should have its own counsel that's not conflicted. And I think moving forward, as of today, we're going to have to look at engaging new counsel. All right. So I think there's, sort of a rough plan that we have going forward with respect to, how we do that. I asked Attorney Cleary to provide a recommendation, just given the fact that if they are conflicted out, is there a firm that they could refer us to for us to entertain engaging them? And then, we're not limited to that. We could, we go out to the New Hampshire Municipal Association, has resources in terms of a marketplace for where land use attorneys advertise. And then there might be some other attorneys that we might want to consider looking at. So sooner than later, I think we'll actively be moving forward. If that involves having to coordinate the town, because I think the way it's set up right now is that it's legal is a line item that's not necessarily broken out as being, let's say, planning board and such. But, so as such, this board does need its own legal representation, and we can't go without. So I think that's something that we should move forward on. Any questions about that, or?
No, I agree. I mean,
Yep.
you would think there should be, the challenge always with planning board representation is finding a firm with, some bench strength. That's, same thing, no different than the ZBA.
Right.
So, generally, you're not talking a one horse shop that's, representing a planning. And just looking at the marketplace on NHMA, there's a fair amount of advertisement up there
Right.
for land use. So,
Well, what would the process be? We don't have to put like an RFP out, or like it doesn't have to be a request for bid or anything. We can just choose. And does the board vote on that, or is representation?
again, is generally the Board of Selectmen engage, counsel for town matters. I think in consultation with the Board of Selectmen, we could come up with, the right representation for the planning.
Yeah, I would think if we had a particular firm or whatever that we
Right.
wanted to settle on,
Right.
and I would, and if, we, through the town or the Board of Selectmen, if this board said that, we really want to go with this particular firm, I would hope that,
No, that would obviously,
Sensible work.
that would play big, right?
yeah, I hope so.
I mean, obviously, this is something we haven't had to do. I don't know when the last time something like this has happened.
Probably 4 or 5 years ago with the ZBA,
Yeah.
when Mr. Kalman.
Yeah.
was-
Yeah.
That's the last time I
The
can
last
see it.
time
that
he was
actually
Yeah, so,
The planning board council became the ZBA
I
council.
mean, obviously, we're all gonna have to work together.
So if there, again, if for whatever process we come up with, like next day or so. If we need to formalize that process, I guess we'll look into that. But if there are names or candidates, we could probably circulate that, and then maybe, I would hope that by next meeting or something, we can't go without having
No.
legal counsel.
No, that's tough.
Right, it's,
No, we
That's,
do.
it's not something you want, you want, a
Right.
position you want to be in.
so that'll be something that we sort of affirmatively move on. So if there's traffic, if we get some guidance from the town manager, board of selectmen, what sort of information,
Yeah.
people want to see and what a decision
We
looks
should
like then.
probably all be together to discuss with that person too.
Right, like I said, we'll kind of formalize flesh out what
Right.
that process is. It should be something that's relatively transparent and
Quick.
fast, not going over the course of many months.
In the words of John Wooden, be quick, but don't hurry.
All right. Has everyone signed the rules and procedures? I think.
As long as you got 3 on there, that's all you need.
Do we just have 3?
It's actually not that.
What?
It's an acknowledgement, it's
is
You're
not a vote.
accepting it. You're
Yeah.
accepting those as the rules and procedures.
Yeah, you're accepting those as the planning board's rules and procedures. Yeah, it's not a vote.
Yeah, I
Oh, so we
mean,
don't all have to sign?
I think the opposite is true. We want to assign, I mean, I suppose if you had said that, no, I'm not going to sign it, that's your prerogative,
No one
but,
can force you.
right, no one can force you, but it still, it doesn't absolve you from being bound by the rules and procedures. So, I mean, we'll leave it at that. Is there,
Karen being a rebel.
Mhm.
Being a rebel over there.
yeah. Just a last update from RPC. The master plan updates from housing. Remember when we had a grant, we talked about housing. Then RPC was going to incorporate the changes to the master plan housing portion of the document. It looks like we got it back. There might be some questions of whether or not everything was incorporated or not. So we've kind of reserved that for, I think, is it the next meeting or the next workshop meeting?
Workshop meeting.
Yeah, so the next workshop meeting, we'll probably circulate it. And, I guess what we'll be looking for is that, we have what's current on the master plan housing. I suppose that represents the unchanged portion of it, right? And then we have what came back from RPC. So what we're looking to do is to kind of look and see that whatever changes RPC made, that were incorporated into the document. And if there's changes that need to be made, what does that involve? I know that there's a Word document that was referenced, but I don't necessarily see that a Word document was returned to us. So that's kind of what we're looking to, that last hurdle for the master plan, where we can put housing, have it loaded, requires us to kind of look at it and make sure that it was actually done. So, but that'll be for next meeting, right?
But we'll have a document to look at.
You'll have it pushed out to you,
Okay.
okay? And whether or not we want to push out what's currently on the master plan on the website, or push that out. Either way, we're going to have to take a look at it.
The master plan's already on.
Right. So if you want to do it that way, where we have the change document goes to everyone, and you can go and look at it. If not, then we're going to have to kind of do it at the workshop. So, it should be pretty quick. If it looks like changes weren't done, then I guess we can say that no changes have been done and send it back to where it came from. So, I don't think I have anything else. Is there, other than the fact that a standing note that we want to reach out to Tim, standing note that we want to reach out to DOT, because I think DOT was looking for input from the various land use boards. You want to,
Well, I actually was at the Conservation Commission last
Oh,
week, and they reviewed their correspondence back, you know, so there's and of course, Tim drafted it. So there's a fair amount of information that's already there. I was gonna suggest, you know, maybe reach out to Jill Center or Tim and just see if you can get a copy of that.
Mhm.
Because there were some elements that he didn't have any information on that I think are still worthy, you know, of us, a sentence or two here and there. But it's something I believe can be done, dispatched fairly quickly.
all right, so make contact with them and maybe circulate whatever their feedback was
right.
with an idea of, maybe incorporating that and then pushing it out to DOT.
I can't remember, the Board of Selectmen so did you guys get a letter asking for your input too?
We did not. They don't like us.
I don't think that's it.
Well, I mean, all right, so
Maybe they just cared about Tim too, you know?
Right,
That's
exactly.
probably it.
Right, that's true.
If we reach out to Tim, that's blast
Yeah,
now.
that's probably right.
all right, so we can get whatever that information is, circulate it, and then it would probably just also be good to make contact. And we'll go from there, so maybe incorporate our thoughts into it. Anything else from anyone?
Only thing is zoning ordinances, I
Oh,
think.
geez.
Those. Turn around the kind of current iteration. It's mostly cleaned up some grammatical and textual things. Put that back in front of us.
So we're pretty close right now to, we're cleaning up and editing, and I don't think there's been any input from any of the people that we reached out to.
The biggest hole in the donut is we don't have legal counsel.
Right.
That's why I said we've
Yeah.
got to get that.
All right, Leah.
We have to get that.
Legal counsel.
Yeah.
All right.
Especially with enough changes this year in the statutes, that I believe I've captured all the right language, and I've, attended like 4 separate, zoning changes, trainings and the like. And I think we've got everything, but there is definitely some tweaking. So particularly on the so-called, multifamily use in a commercial district, that's kind of nuanced a little bit. The ADU piece is pretty straightforward. That's just adding some, I would say 85% of our ordinance was already compliant. There's just some little nits here and there. that need to be-
All right.
Go ahead.
Last thought. I know there was a request for a notice of award for the impact fees. That's sent out, correct?
Yep, that was sent out. I don't believe we've received anything
All
back
right,
at
so
this
we're just
point, but
waiting
they
for
have
them to
until-
generate a contract and such.
Yeah, they have until the end of the month to send over a draft contract.
Okay. And they'll be interacting with the planning office.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
to be updated.
Excellent. All right.
It is nice to have representation, so thank you,
Yes.
Shay. It's been
Yes.
great. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, and thank you.
If you want to take a minute, I mean, I think we're done with our, anything unless anyone else has anything. So prior to close, if you want to just sort of,
7:30.
you have the floor, talk about yourself for a minute or two.
Sure.
And I put her on the spot.
There you are.
Well, thanks for the warm welcome. My name's Shay Raymaker. I've been here for about a month now. But I was born and raised in New Hampshire, went to University of New Hampshire, all that good stuff. And then just spent the last 3 years working as a planner out in Montana at the county level.
Ooh, wow.
So just coming back to get reestablished here back in New Hampshire. So I haven't worked on the municipal level yet. So picking up that sort of stuff as well as the New Hampshire specific laws. But yeah, I did planning for 3 full years out there.
That must have been really something, Montana, huh? Mm.
A little bigger than.
Yeah, a
New
little
Hampshire.
bigger, more territory.
Yep.
And lots of people.
Yes, right.
Lot more animals.
Dealing with animals more than
Four-legged
people.
ones, that is.
My brother-in-law, the one I bought, I don't know, maybe he's watching too much of Yellowstone or whatever. He went and bought 40,000 acres of
Oh, jeez.
of property out there. I'm like, good on you.
Wannabe?
I don't know. So,
Probably got it for $1,000.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
all right. All right, so if anyone doesn't have anything else,
7:30.
close the meeting at 7:26. All right. Thank you.